Hello everyone, I'm Brahmithra, and today I'm going to be talking about the two new expansions for Townsfolk Tussle. Now, Panic Roll sent me this thing. That was it. They only sent this to me. The only compensation I received for this is I get to keep this sampler and everything. Just want to be upfront about that. There's nothing else, no other transactions were made about me. This was sent just to make the purposes of this video. So just to be upfront about that. So, we're going to talk about, first the Foul Neighbors expansion, and then two, the Odd Jobs expansion. Also available in the Kickstarter, there will be an upgrade pack for the second edition reprint of Townsfolk Tussle. So that is something that's also available. I'm not really going to talk about the second edition upgrade pack in this video, mainly going to focus on Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs. But just to say, there is new stuff inside that upgrade pack. I talked about that in a video I just made, revisiting Townsfolk Tussle, the first edition, and what those changes make and why they were made. They're mainly just, to improve the game after, it being out and hearing as much feedback as they can. So the upgrade pack will be available as well alongside Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs. Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs will be available for individual purchase. The purpose of Foul Neighbors is to just add more of what you already liked in the first edition, or what you liked in the base game of Townsfolk Tussle. That's what Foul Neighbors is. It adds 8 more Ruffians and 2 new Townsfolk. Included in this sampler, I'll be able to show you 4 of those Ruffians and the 2 new Townsfolk. We can talk about the other 4, but I haven't seen those. The only ones that are included are 4 of them, and I'll talk about those here, and the 2 Townsfolk. Then Odd Jobs. Odd Jobs adds a new thing to the entirety of Townsfolk Tussle, gear-related and peddler-related. The Odd Jobs expansion is super interesting, and that's the one that will add the most new stuff, whereas Foul Neighbors will add more of the same, if that's how you can put these two expansions. So, let's go ahead and look at what's included in the sampler pack. So for Foul Neighbors, what I'll be able to show you are the 4 Ruffians. You can see them here as they go over. They are Tartar Fishboy, Miss Falls and Company, the Door Knockers and Patches, terrain to go along with all these Ruffians. You can see up here in the top left corner where it says the NN. That is actually going to be an identifier, so you can sort things out. The NN will, in the actual game, it should say FN for Foul Neighbors, and the other one will say OJ for Odd Job. So let's start with the Townsfolk. First, we're going to look at Judy Marks. She's going to get these 3 painting gear. Painting gear is something specifically for her. They act as like a buffer. That's what she is. She's going to hand these out, and when she hands them out to a Townsfolk, upon receiving it, they will gain a one-time buff, and then she'll gain an ancillary buff, either when she hands out all 3 or when she hands out her first one. Something else. Something she'll benefit from it as the other players benefit from it. This is absolutely amazing. I love this type of interaction. She is super fun to play, so she's really cool. So Frigidette, what she gets to do is she takes someone and hides them inside of her chest, because she's an icebox. She's got a chest place for people to go into. This will remove the Townsfolk from the board. It's a very nice way of getting them out of danger or something. She even has gear that will heal them when they come out. But at the start of the turn, they'll come out, and then you place them out in an adjacent space to her. And again, it's a way of avoiding something that could potentially be bad or healing them while they're in there. She's super cool as well. These two heavily rely on interaction between other Townsfolk. Super cool. I really enjoy these 2 Townsfolk. They're very interesting. I hope they get more things specifically for them as well, where they get more paintings and stuff like that. But these 2 really strong abilities. They're great. So let's go talk about the new Ruffian. Each one of these Ruffians is going to actually have what's called an ambush card. These ambush cards are ways of showing new rules for all the AI cards. So, for example, let's start with Tartar Fishboy. He's going to have this Angry Angler as his ambush card. On this ambush card, as you'll see, there's going to be stuff where it says cast, lure in, and thrash. These are all defined keywords. So then when you go through his AI deck, it's going to say stuff on here like target furthest Townsfolk, lure in, bolded, then lure in again, then move towards target, and then thrash, then reshuffle the action deck, right? So it saves a lot of space on these AI cards because all the rules are going to be written on this one card that's always in play. Bort kind of had this in the original game if you've played it. So I would hope so if you're buying these expansions. Bort kind of had this with one of his cards where I forget which one it was, but you put tokens on it and stuff. That's what these are all going to kind of be. It allows these new Ruffians to be much more complex. So what Tartar here is basically going to be doing is he's going to be throwing out that bait terrain, moving around Ruffians, and then there's going to be new terrain, water terrain tiles and stuff, flood terrain tiles, and then those are going to be placed all over the board. Look, Tartar is very interesting. The best way, I don't want to go too in-depth on all these things, but I'll tell you what to expect from them and what's like the most things that are changing. But again, I want to do this quickly just for people to know what they can expect from the new expansions. However, I will probably play all these. If you want me to, you can just leave a message down in the comments. I can go through all these new Ruffians and stuff. But for the sakes of this, we're just going to say that the terrain and stuff, it's super cool. I've tried them out. I've played them. It's very interesting. The flood stuff also relates to Miss Falls. So let's have a look here at Miss Falls. Because her AI deck is going to be making either like the driest or the wettest townsfolk, and you'll be having those same water tokens you use for Tartar. You'll be placing them all around on the actual townsfolk themselves, and then targeting will be based off of that. And then at the end of the turn, the shocking guests, that's the clouds in her artwork that follow her around, they're the ones who are going to be doing most of the damage, whereas Miss Falls is going to be just making sure people are the driest, wettest, and then do targeting and move around. Her fight is also very interesting. Next, let's move on to the door knockers. Basically what they are is they have this cube that they really want to sell you. They're like door-to-door salesmen, and they're going to be coming around handing like townsfolk like belief tokens and things, and each one of their cards is going to target converted townsfolk or non-converted townsfolk, and you get converted as you build, much like with Miss Falls, much like when you build up too many belief tokens, you become converted, and then you start damaging other townsfolk. It's really interesting, and then you can knock townsfolk. When they take damage, you knock them out of being converted, knock them back to normal. It's really interesting. Their fight is pretty fun. Next, we're going to look at Patches. His ambush card puts in this whole new board for him. It includes the Patches costume board, because Patches here, this stray cat, is wearing a costume. So, as you can see here, this is the board. It's this very interesting thing where you take pieces out of it and then you collect them, right? So you take it out, take this out, take this out. Now I've gone around, I'm starting to collect pieces. Now the way that Patches will target is he's going to target, with the same way kind of what Miss Falls did when she targeted based on wetness tokens, driest and everything. Patches is going to do much the same. He's going to target people with a certain amount of costume pieces, or he's going to target people who have a specific costume piece, or the person with the fewest costume pieces. Now, for Patches himself, I'd say he's fun to play. I'd call him almost like an F-ton of fun. So those are the 4 that came with the sampler, the ones I was able to play, the ones I was able to try out. But as you can see, for Foul Neighbors, it's pretty much going to be exactly just more of the same. Everything you love from the original Townsfolk Tussle base game, that Foul Neighbors expansion will give you more. So now let's talk about Odd Jobs expansion. The Odd Jobs expansion adds all kinds of new roles. As you can see, there's tons and tons and tons of gear here. You can see off onto the left side, it will mention a role for what you will become when you gain 3 of these. As you can see, I've laid them all out here. The distribution that is in the sampler is, it looks like every role here is included has got like 6 gear. And again, this is all not finalized, the stuff I have here for the sampler, but the goal is that this Odd Jobs expansion introduces an entirely new peddler deck. So you wouldn't use the original one, you'd use the whole new one. And that's because with these roles, you need to make sure the distribution of the gear that you can get from the peddler will add enough opportunity to become these roles. So if you were worried about these role cards being, mixed in with the already tons and tons and tons of gear that's in the original game, you don't have to worry about that. Odd Jobs will add a whole new deck, everything like that, and then the distribution will be amazing. It'll be easy to do it, because when I was trying the sampler, everything has about like 6 cards, and then there's also the multi-class cards, or You can see there on the left side, there'll be 2 of the same roles for 1 card. So you'll have like detective, investigator, cook, instigator, or investigator. There's multiple ways. You only need to get 3 of these to become the role. And then you change your character into that role. You'll have all the gear abilities. Some of them will be passive. Some of them will be active, where you'll have to spend mox. Some of them will give new gear. All kinds of new variety of things. You don't lose your core abilities from the townsfolk you're playing. You just gain all this stuff in addition. Again, you only need 3. The sampler I was given had 6 of each in there, so it was pretty easy to become the role you were looking for. Again, it comes on a first serve basis, or first come first serve basis. So if 2 players, they can't claim the same role. First one to get it is the one who becomes it, and then because you can't trade or whatever, so make sure just play as a group and don't try to go after the same role. But that's pretty much what these roles will do. There's also deployable terrain. Deployable terrain is something you can place down, and then anybody can interact with it. Any townsfolk can interact with it, not just the person who played it. And then those things do passive abilities and things like that. And then you can gain, all townsfolk can gain buffs. You can only have 2 terrain down, regardless of how many you have. You only be able to place 2. So that's included for all the townsfolk, for all players. 2 is the max that can be on the landscape. Then, finally, the other very interesting thing, again, I wasn't able to test this in the sampler because it didn't come with the sampler, but I can read what it is. It is the new scavenge things, and I'm going to show all the, let's go right here. Bam, how about that? We're going to have a whole thing right here, and I'm going to sit right here as we describe it. Now, again, the reason I want to read this thoroughly is because I haven't gotten a chance to test this. I read this over, read about what it is, but I just want to make sure I'm saying everything correct. So basically, the way it will work is you will have more gear in that Odd Jobs expansion. The gear that will come up in the peddler deck will have like new keywords on it, like dig or broken, stuff like that. And then it will have a unlock with a number. And that unlock ability will then go to much like in the original game where when you beat the ruffian, you read the final chapter, the final ending, how it ended. Those unlock things will go to a specific entry in like the book. You'll have this, I forget what it's called. It's the Peddler's Journal, or is it the Scavenger Stories? That's it for the unlock, where you read them. And yeah, so there'll be gear here where these things permanently unlock, much like how you do in the original game, where you get the unlocking from the defeating the final ruffian, then maybe you'll get some stuff added to your deck, or added to your gear deck forever for your peddler deck. That's what these will do. This whole expansion revolves around that concept of unlocking new gear via doing scavenging or doing the Peddler's Journal, which is... So let me just read how this works. Each location you travel to, at the end of each game, there'll be some requirements. So, for example, the one they give here is the Iron Gut Keep. The requirement would be prepare an offering 1 tick each time a townsfolk ends the game with a consumable. So if you do that 5 times, then you blend in with the Iron Gut staff at the end of the game, or end the game with a cook roll, and then on completion you unlock XX. So what these things are is they're just extra things to track during the shop phase and during the scavenge phase. They're kind of just extra cool stuff that you can do that expand the game to like a whole more into like a legacy kind of like thing, because there's going to be all kinds of stuff you unlock that will affect that deck forever. So that boils down basically what you can expect with the brand new Kickstarter to be the Foul Neighbors will be a more of the same, which is going to be just more ruffians, more townsfolk. Again, 8 ruffians is quite a bit. That's a lot. There was only 12 in the base game, so that is super amazing. I'm so glad 8 is so cool to have in an expansion. And then the Odd Jobs will be just a whole new peddler gear deck, which is amazing. All these new roles, which make your townsfolk separate for each time. All kinds of new stuff you can chase down. And then that whole the scavenging thing is like just fun things you can do as it is right now with the unlocking of the gear via town events, stuff like that. So it's going to be more of the same like that. So that's pretty much what you can expect from this Kickstarter. So hopefully you're looking as forward to it as I am. I'm super excited. It's really cool. I'm so glad that they had all this new stuff. Again, it's so cool that they seem to tailor these expansions and mostly the upgrade pack to feedback that was given to the base game. So, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you want to see me do a fight. I'm thinking maybe I'll just do a final fight. So, of the 4 that were here that I showed in this video, just leave a comment which one you want to see for me to do the final fight, and I'll do some of those. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.